Greetings! Welcome once more to the Dracovin Empire. Are you ready to dive back in time again and learn about the history of Magic the Gathering through its various sets, products, and releases? Yes, we're diving into Magic history, learning about new cards, stuff, and some cards that were interesting today. I'm your host and guide, Tantanara Dracovin, and I can open up a time portal back into history, this time back into June of 2012. As your host and guide here, I do need a little bit of a tip before I open up the time portal. Please just make sure you subscribe over on YouTube and let me know if you ever had today's product, Planechase 2012 or Planechase 2012 edition at all. So, you ready to enter the time portal? Take my hand, let's get going. 2012 awaits. Wow, back 13 years ago. Woo! Well, let's learn all about Planechase 2012. So Planechase 2012 was really 4 game packs, each that had 10 oversized plane cards, a 60-card deck, a 6-sided planar dice, and a strategy that was released to it. So that's kind of what it was. Each of these things was a little component of the full Planechase group, and you could get all 4 to have the full planar deck, but again, we'll kind of dive into the aspects of the planar decks as we talk about them too. This was the symbol, and it was supposed to be representing the planes. Mark Globus was the lead designer, with Mark L. Gottlieb as the lead developer, and Jeremy Jarvis continuing art direction, as he does a lot during this time period. We visited a billion different planes, including some new planes that we never visited before, and cards related to planes, and a new kind of card, Cascade, were very important. There were 4 keyword/abilities that will become very important as we talk about it here. Cascade, Devour, Ninjutsu, and Totem/Umbral Armor. The set itself had 156 cards, plus 40 plane cards. It was 4 60-card decks with the 10 theme cards to them overall. So, plus, technically speaking, yeah. Anyway, so really, again, only 156 cards, even though there were 240 cards you'd have if you bought all of them. Again, different cards. So, everything I build about is built on the planar Magic variant of it. We're playing Planechase. Yeah. And it's building upon Planechase as it was in the old set. We're building upon it. So, we are advancing it to the next level with some new types of cards and some new themes in this cards, and some stuff that do evolve with the planar decks. Of course, we still have the return of the random oversized plane cards that we had from before. It's basically the same rules as it is. You have a planar deck that everybody uses. One gets flipped over at the beginning of the game, and then you can, during the course of the game, flip over more of them. It's the basic rules of Planechase as they had been. I'm showing off here the first of many planes I'll talk about today with a Quicksilver Sea, which when you planeswalk to it or at the beginning of your upkeep, you scry 4, and when you roll Chaos from the top card of your library and pay it for that, you may play it without paying its mana cost. So, yeah. Of course, then we got the dice that are related to this, planar dice, that you can roll anytime you cast a sorcery, and you reroll as many times as you want, costing 1 colorless mana more than the previous one. So the first one's free, the second roll costs you 1 colorless, the third roll costs you 2 colorless, etc., etc. If you get the Planeswalk symbol, you Planeswalk. If you got the Chaos symbol, you get the Chaos for the current plane. What's really new about this entire aspect, this is very what was Planechase before, is the phenomena that are this. It's a new card type. It's similar to planes, it's in the planar deck, but it's a one-time effect. Once revealed, it gets triggered, and then you move to a new plane afterwards. Reality Shaping here is a very interesting one, because when you encounter it, starting with you, each player puts a permanent from his or her hand into the battlefield. And then you planeswalk away once everybody gets a permanent. Whoever has the really big, expensive, really mean card gets out of this really well. They're the ones that are winning on this one. So we do have to talk about the new cards and stuff. There were a total of 21 new cards that were set between the 4 decks. Each of the decks had 6 new cards. How does that work? Well, there was one card that was new that appeared in every deck. We'll talk about those new cards when we talk about the deck, but these were Eternal format legal, so keep that in mind. We're not standard, we're Eternal format. So this is Vintage, Legacy, Commander, Pauper. It's not even Modern either, you know, so that's where these were being put into. So these are cards that started in all of these formats. And not to say that they wouldn't appear in anything afterwards, reprints and stuff like this. There are also 3 new artworks that I got to mention here because, you know, they are 2 of them I wouldn't be mentioning again, with Armored Griffin with its new artwork, which is just a 2/3 Flying Vigilance, and then Concentrate, drawing 3 cards. We'll talk about Dark Hatchling later on during its deck that it's a member of. But yeah, all these are new art for these cards. Now, when it came out, there was release events. And this is, of course, back in the beginning of June 1st, 2012, when it came out. This came at the beginning of June. And so if you went to one of these release events, you got a promo. So this, Stairs to Infinity, was not included in any of the 4 decks. This is a promo plane. No maximum hand size. When you roll a planar die, draw a card. And when you roll Chaos, reveal the top card of your planar deck. You may put it at the bottom of your planar deck. Basically, you basically can see what, if you roll Chaos, you can see what next plane's coming up and choose if you want it or not. Okay, so now let's talk about cycles. There was a cycle in here that there was a mythic multicolored legend in each of the 4 decks. We're not talking about them right now because we're going to talk about those legends in each of those 4 decks. They are important, they're powerful in those decks, we'll get to them, but there was a cycle in amongst them for one of the decks. There was also this pair here, which were both introduced cards. We're going to talk about them more when we get to the various sets, but basically these were multicolored blue creatures with Cascade that were in Chaos Reigns, and they were paired together, Shardless Agent and Ethereum Horn Sorcerer. Also be very notable in this entire thing, Baleful Strix. Baleful Strix, flying Death Touch 1/1, when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. I thought this was from the Alara sets. I did not realize, until doing research here, it came about here. Baleful Strix has appeared in more places since then. It's forgotten a bunch of commoners. It's appeared in things like Murs, Karloff Manor, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, Bloomburrow, the commander decks there, a lot of commander decks, Double Masters, various other places. It has appeared a lot since then. Vintage Masters, Eternal Masters, popped up a bunch. Archenemy Nicol Bolas, Secret Lair. It's very good. It's probably one of the most notable things to come out of here. It's a tournament-viable creature that has popped up in Legacy a lot. It's cheap, it flies, it has Death Touch, you get a card. So just keep in mind, this is probably one of the best cards that come out of this entire thing. Not the only stuff. There are other cards which I could kind of talk about, but one of the best. So to talk about the sets, I'll talk about each of these individually, but they were 60-card themed decks, as I said. Each one had 8 planes and 2 phenomenons. So they get the 10 cards for your planar deck, but it was 8 planes, 2 phenomenons that were introduced that were all new. Each of the decks also had a theme. Chaos Reigns here is a Cascade deck. Cascade being introduced in the Alara block, and it's all about getting lots and lots of Cascade. So if you wanted to improve this deck, you add Cascade, but it's a pretty good Cascade deck. Let's talk about the cards from this Cascade deck. And we'll talk about our big one from part of the group here, Maelstrom Wanderer. Creatures you control have haste, and it cascades twice for 7/5. And it cascades when it costs 8 mana, meaning you're cascading for 7 twice. Pretty damn good. There was also, so each of these decks had a mythic, 7 rares, and then of course the 6 new cards. And then also, they also had cards that were new in the modern frame that were never in there before. The rares in this one, of course, start with Exotic Orchard, which you can tap to add 1 mana of any color the opponent's land could produce. We have Enigma Sphinx here. Again, this is a reprint one. Flying, when it's put in your graveyard from the battlefield, put on top of your library, 3rd from the top. Interesting. And it cascades. So if it dies, you get it back. First of our new ones, the Ethereum Horn Sorcerer, which costs 6 mana. Pretty expensive, but it cascades. And for 3 mana, you can return to your hand. What's a Cascader? You can bounce and play again to cascade again. Whirlpool Warrior. Whirlpool Warrior, another one that is a reprint. Where we have enters the battlefield, shuffle the cards from your hand and your library and draw that many cards. And you can sacrifice it, and each player shuffles the cards from their hands and then draws that many cards. So basically, you get the bonus of shuffling your hand, getting a new one when it comes into play. You play it when you don't really have a great hand, you want to switch it out. But you can then sacrifice it to do all people have it. Mass Mutiny is another of our new cards, our third of our 6 new cards that were in here. And for each opponent, gain control of target creature the player controls at the end of turn, gains haste, and untap them and they gain haste. So basically, for each opponent, you steal a creature until end of turn. It's kind of like all those other steal spells that are until end of turn, except it's everybody. We have Last Stand. Last Stand here being target opponent loses. It's all the colors, may I note here. This deck is definitely one that is a rainbow deck. It has all 5 colors in it. So just keep that in mind when we talk about here. So that's, again, very important here. Target opponent loses 2 life for each swamp. Deals damage equal number of mountains to the creature. Gets saplings for the forests. Gain life for plains. Draw cards for islands. I would say this deck would really help for having dual lands that actually have types. The shock lands, the surveil lands, things like that, that you can affect Last Stand even better with. Just keep that in mind if you want to ever, if you really recreate and or improve this deck. Sunken Hope, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, return a creature that you control to their owner's hand. This one is really something that hurts opponents, but it's really better for you. I bring my big Cascade creature back to my hand, I replay it. The 3 other new cards are Shardless Agent, the 2/2 for 3 mana Cascade I talked about. Illusionary Angel, which you cast Illusionary Angel only if you cast another spell this turn. So you can only cast it as a second spell. Hey, it's really meant that you want to cascade into it. And of course, the card that was in all of these decks, Fractured Power Stone. A mana rock for 2 mana that taps for mana, but also gives you an interesting ability. Roll the planar die. Only do it if you cast a sorcery. I think that's where this one's interesting. It gives you the bonus rolling of the planar die. This is the, if you're going to play Planeship, put this Mana Dork in your deck, have it as a sideboard. So that's what I'll say about it. It's a very sideboard thing. But this is the one that appears in all the decks. Okay. So. We've talked about them, but these are the cards. We talked about 2 of these. The thing about this is, Last Stand, this is the first time printed in modern card frame. So keep that in mind. This is a reprint from Apocalypse. Whirlpool Warrior is similar that it was last in Onslaught. I did forget to get I did forget to get a picture of one of the other ones here. There was a 4th one, Erratic Explosion, also from Onslaught. I just realized I left it out there. Apologize. But that's also one that's new in the modern slot. And then Peregrine Drake, where it enters the battlefield, you untap 5 lands. Basically, it's another thing that you want to have a big expensive cascade to cascade into to cast a second thing. I cascade into the Drake. Hey, I get 5 lands back to do more stuff. There's a lot of these kind of combos that are in this deck. But again, that's the other thing. Also, Bloodbraid Elf here. If you want to put Lightning in just for fun, because Bloodbraid Elf into Lightning is the joke from Alara block. Anyway, there's a lot of Cascade stuff in here. Maelstrom Nexus might be a good one to add in here too, because that gives all your stuff Cascade. So if they're already had Cascade, Cascades again another time. There's a lot I can say to do to improve this deck, but it's a very interesting Cascade deck. The planes for these, I'm going to mention a couple of them. Hedron Fields of Agadir. Now, because this is taking place a lot later, we've been a couple of years, we've introduced a couple of planes, Zendikar, Innistrad. Creatures with power 7 or greater can't attack or block, and we roll Chaos, you get a 7/7 Eldrazi with Annihilator 1. Annihilator, great. Trail of Mage Rings. Instants of resources you have Rebound. You exile the spell as it resolves, and if you cast it from your hand, at the beginning of the player's next upkeep, you may cast that card from exile, paying its mana cost. You cast instants or sorceries twice. And when reveal and play King Chaos, you get an instant sorcery, reveal and put in your hand. I like to portray that one. Our phenomena in this one I wanted to talk about was Mutual Enmity. Each player draws 4 cards. I'm only going to go through a selection of all the planes and phenomena for each of these decks just to show off some interesting ones in them. But yeah, everybody gets 4 cards. Let's talk about Knight of the Ninja. This is our ninjutsu deck. Ninjutsu, a very interesting kind of mechanic that was introduced into Kamigawa block. So yeah, it's been used in a bunch of places. It's become, you know, had some popularity. Hey, we've revisited Kamigawa. Ninjutsu has kind of come back in a lot of ways. It's one of the few mechanics that was from the original Kamigawa block that had a little bit of interest that it could return. So again, that's why it's kind of interesting here. Our mythic here is Vela of the Nightclad. It has Intimidate. Other creatures you control have Intimidating, meaning they can only be blocked by creatures that share a color with it. And non-artifact creatures, it's the, you know, the replacement of Fear. And whenever it or another creature you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. Now it leaves the battlefield. And remember, that can't be blocked except by artifact creatures or creatures that share a color with it. I ninjutsu stuff away, each opponent loses a life. I switch things with ninjutsu, each opponent loses a life. Yep. So it's one of the new ones, though, too. Other cards here. Another one of the new cards to this set is Silent Blade Oni. So Silent Blade Oni, it's a ninjutsu. Hey, you know, when it deals combat damage to a player, look at that player's hand, and you may cast a non-land card from it without paying its mana cost. So yeah, you get to steal some kind of card from your opponent with the Oni. So pretty good little ninja there if you wanted to kind of steal some things. The other rares are Higuri of the Still Wind. Another ninja. Hey, you know, when it deals combat damage to a player, you search your library for a ninja card, reveal it, put in your hand, shuffle your library, and it makes ninjas unblockable. This is very good for ninja deck. We, of course, have Ink Eyes. Ink Eyes is one I like. When it deals combat damage to a player, you put target creature card from that player's graveyard on the battlefield under your control, and it regenerates. I've put Ink Eyes in a deck before, other than a ninja deck, just because stealing things from graveyards and sneaking it in with ninjutsu can be very good. And it regenerates. And a 5/4 for it regenerates for 6 mana, not bad. Sakashima's Student, another ninja. You have it enter as a copy of a creature on the battlefield, except it's a ninja in addition to its other types. So you can kind of copy it. Here's the thing, it's another new card. So it's our third of our third new rare that's in here. For other rares that we have here, we have, of course, Quietus Spike. Creature's Death Touch. Whenever a quick creature deals combat damage to a player, they lose half their life rounded up. I'm going to be sneaking in creatures. Of course I'm going to try to, like, you know, get a Quietus Spike. Hey, that Dark Hatchling that had new art. When it is destroyed target non-black creature, can't be regenerated. And of course, Glenaladra Liege, giving boosts to blue and black creatures. It's a blue and black deck. I mean, you know, it makes sense to have that deck. Other new cards here, of course, was really Baleful Strix being one of them. I talked about Baleful Strix. Declining Death Touch, enters the battlefield, draw a card. Other new cards are Side of the Shinobi. A creature gets +1/+1. When there's an out of battlefield under your control, you may attach Side of the Shinobi. When a creature enters, you can attach the side to it. So that's the thing. This is something I can just equip to a ninja as it enters. I give my ninja +1/+1. I can just do that extra +1/+1. The other one being Fractured Power Stone as the 6th new card. And the new card in modern format is, of course, Tainted Isle, which was originally from Torment. We're getting that in the modern card frame finally. And then been in the old card frame. Alright, so the planes that were here, we had Bloodstained Bastion. A creature enters the battlefield against double strike and haste, and you roll chaos. You can flicker a creature. Exile returns to the battlefield. Hey, got double strike and haste for this turn. The other one's Gavany that gives you creatures vigilance, and if you roll chaos, your creatures are indestructible. Yeah. Interplanar Tunnel is the phenomenon I wanted to talk about here. reveal cards from the top of your planar deck until you reveal 5 planes. Put one of them on top of the planar deck and put the rest revealed in the bottom in a random order. So basically, you encounter this, you get to choose which of the 5 planes that are coming up next you travel to and get rid of the rest. Some advantages there in that. Alright, let's talk about Primordial Hunger. This is a Devour deck. It's all about the Devour mechanic. It's another block from the Shards of Alara block. Hey, 2 of these were very popular in Alara. This is a, of course, red-green deck. Only one of these decks was a rainbow deck, you know. Our mythic, of course, here being Thormok, the Insatiable, where Devour X, where X of them are creatures that devour. The more creatures you devour, the bigger the Devour ability is. So, if you think about it, normally Devour 1, it comes into play with +1/+1 counter for each creature you sacrifice. This one here, if I sacrifice 5 creatures, it becomes Devour 5. Meaning I get +20, it's a 25/25. Yeah. It's exponentially bigger. However many creatures you sacrifice, square that. That's how big Thormok is. Get a bunch of tokens, sacrifice the Thormok. It's mean. Not gonna lie, it can be pretty mean here. Anyway, we have a number of rares to talk about, as usual. We'll start with Awakening Zone. You get a Eldrazi spawn that you can sacrifice for mana every turn, at the beginning of your upkeep. Hey, creatures. And Thormok was a new one. Warstorm Surge. I love this one. It's very mean. Creature under battlefield under control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. You nuke stuff. Dragonlair Spider, a new one. It's a reach 5/6. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a green insect token into the battlefield. This is another way to get more tokens to sacrifice to your big Devour creatures. Pyre Caesar Dragon is a Devour creature that's new. When it attacks, it deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on it. You sacrifice, devour a bunch of things, get it big. When it attacks, all those counters nuke something. My topic Slime. When it dies, you get 2 tokens. And when they die, you put 2 more tokens in the battlefield. So, with this Slime out, you could get, well, 7 Devours in with 1 Slime. 7. Sacrifice it once, get 2 creatures. Sacrifice those 2, get 4 creatures. 7. That's why it's good in here. We have Hellion Eruption. Sacrifice our creatures, get that many 4/4 red Hellion tokens. If you just have a lot of tokens and no big Devour creatures, you can sacrifice everything to the Hellion Eruption. And of course, Mycoloth, which has Devour. And at the beginning of an upkeep, you get Saplings, basically, for each +1/+1 counter on it. So you devour a bunch to Mycoloth, and allow Mycoloth to create a bunch of Saplings to use to devour to something else. Mycoloth eats a bunch of stuff, and then feeds everybody else. The other 2 new cards, other than Fractured Power Stone, that would be the 3rd of new cards, we've already talked about 3 of them, the rares, was of course Beetleback Chief. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 red, 1 red Goblin tokens. Hey, you get it, and you get 3 creatures for the price of 1. And then Brindle Spout, which when it dies, you get a 3/3 boar. It's another one that, a lot of these things that when you die, you get stuff, but both of these are new ones. There were 2 cards printed into the new modern format, Null Mage Advocate, which you return 2 cards from an opponent's graveyard to his or her hand to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Hey, I give you 2 cards back I don't mind you having. I get rid of an artifact or enchantment. And of course, Wall of Blossoms. When it enters, you get a card for 2 mana. It's a 0/4 defender. It's really great early on, and you can always devour it when you don't need it anymore. The planes to talk about here, first off, Jund. When you cast a black, red, or green creature spell, it gains Devour 5. Now, there aren't any black spells in this one. It's a green-red Devour deck, but hey, I now have Devour 5. Things like Mycoloth and the Fire Caesar Dragon now has Devour 5. And when you roll Chaos, you get Goblins. Works very well with your Devour deck. And Cessnia Loftgarden is another interesting one. It's got doubling season on it. If you put one or more tokens onto the battlefield, put twice as many tokens on the battlefield, and if one or more counters would be on a permanent, place twice that many counters on that permanent instead. Granted, it doesn't affect players, but, you know, all your creatures get double the counters, all your permanents get double the counters, all your tokens that come in the battlefield, you get twice of them. And it just says token, not token creatures. It says counters on permanents. So if you can create token copies of anything, you get more of them. And when you roll chaos, whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to the mana pool, type that land can produce. So you basically, every time you roll chaos, you double the mana production you have for that turn. Spatial merging is an interesting one because you reveal from the top of your planar deck until you reveal 2 planes, and you go to both of them. And you put all the other cards revealed at the bottom planar deck. So if you get more phenomena, they go to the bottom. But you're in both planes at once. So you're in 2 planes, have the effects of both those planes, and the chaos of both those planes. That could be chaotic. Our final deck is Savage Auras. It's our totem / umbral armor deck. So it is all about that, you know, format of stuff that, you know, basically, again, totem armor is now umbral armor. Just keep that in mind. You know, I think we kind of talked about how its change was from the original thing, that was a change in wording. But we do see that this is still back when it was the original wording in a lot of ways. We haven't updated it yet. Our mythic is Krond, the Dawnclad. This is the green-white deck, may I note, too. So he's kind of expensive, but a flying vigilant 6/6 for 6 mana, but it's 3 of each color. When it attacks, if it's enchanted, exile target permanent. Enchanting Kron and getting Kron out, it can be mean in an enchantment deck. A new card, as one of our rares, our 7 rares, is Indurk Umbra. A creature, it's an umbral armor, a totem armor, I should say, umbral / umbral armor. Creature gets +4/+4 first strike, and all creatures able to block it do so. So it's get lore too. So you just want everybody to block it, murder a bunch of stuff. Elderwood Scion is also new. A trample lifelink, and spells that you cast that target it are cheaper, and spells your opponent casts that target it are more expensive. Core Spirit Dancer gets +2/+2 for each aura on it, and when you cast an aura, draw a card. Hey, an aura deck is what you want. Celestial Ancient, when you cast an enchantment, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Enchantments make your things bigger. Predatory Urge, where, hey, it's pretty simple here. And you enchant a creature, and creature gains tap. Fight. This creature deals damage equal to its power target creature. That creature deals damage to equal to its power to this creature. It's fight without being fighting. In a lot of ways, you know. But basically, it's, you know, they fight. 3 Dreams! Search your library for 3 auras, have different names, reveal them, put in your hand. Just get 3 auras. Sigil of the Empty Throne. Whenever you cast an enchantment, get an angel. Yeah. Our other 2 new cards, our third one being Fractured Power Stone, we get 6 total. We've talked about 3 of the new cards already, and you know, is Feldwar Umber. It gives a creature lifelink, and you can change who it's attached to. So it is a totem armor, but the thing is, if you really wanted to, and you attacked, and you dealt damage, you gained life, in response to a creature dying, you could probably move the armor off before it would be destroyed. I mean, there's probably like responses and stuff in the way that you manipulate the armor, but yeah, you can just move it around. And of course, the other new card is Dreampod Druid. I think your upkeep, if it was enchanted, put a sapling token in the battlefield. So you get enchanted, you get some saplings. And of course, then the Fractured Power Stone. There's only one card new to the modern format, and that's the Armored Griffin that we talked about with its new art. Plains. Grove of the Dream Pods. When you planeswalk it, or at the beginning of your upkeep, you reveal the top card of your library to reveal a creature, put it on the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And when you cast Chaos, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is a very, like, get a lot of creatures out into play. The Talon Gates from Dominaria, when you cast a sorcery, whenever, at any time you could cast a sorcery. Okay, that's the way to say it. I try to say this a couple of times, but when you could cast a sorcery, so anytime during one of your main phases, or if you could cast a sorcery, so as a flash, you know, there are things that allow you to do that. You can exile an online card from your hands with X suspend counters on it, where X is converted mana cost. You can basically do the time suspense things from the time spiral block. If the exiled card doesn't have suspend counters, it gains suspend. So basically, if it wasn't a suspend card, like from Time Spiral, it now does have that. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you remove one. When the last one's removed, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If it's a creature, it has haste. So those are also important things to keep in mind. If you cast it, you know, with suspend, and it's a creature, it gains haste. And you are casting it when you finally lose those last, you cast it without paying its mana cost. And the thing is, if you roll chaos, you remove 2 time counters. Very interesting one. Our phenomenon from this deck I want to talk about was Chaotic Ether. When you encounter it, each blank on the planar die is chaos until a player planeswalks away from a plane. So basically, the next plane you go to, it's a 6-sided die with 5 chaoses and 1 plane shift. Could be very chaotic. I love phenomena as an interesting, like, extra little thing that's added to this deck. But there you go. There's Planechase 2012. Planechase is an interesting format, and we have seen it return in multiple times. More recently, we did see the Planechase type of gameplay return in the latest version from the Phyrexian All Will Be One kind of thing. The Marching Machines commander had it, and then the Doctor Who set had it. So we have seen it return a couple of times since these early 2 Planechases. And it's a fascinating kind of extra little way to play formats, because it's an official variant you play with whatever format you're playing. I can play Commander with Planechase. I can play Legacy, Planechase. I can play Vintage with Planechase. I could probably play Modern with Planechase if I wanted to. I could play Standard with Planechase. It's just the type of decks you're playing with it, and granted, some decks are better off for the type of format you're playing with it. Probably things like Commander, Legacy, Vintage, which work better with a Planechase deck, work better with a Planechase deck. Granted, we did see it kind of introduced to much more of a modern time with the Marching Machines and things like the Doctor Who decks, which had it. But yeah, we're seeing it introduced with Commander decks now with those. So being a Commander, it might be much more. So it's a fascinating, interesting format that we're seeing more of. And I hope you enjoyed learning about it, and maybe you want to explore some Planechase in the future on your own. And I hope you see some of the cards here that might say, like, oh, I want to make a Cascade deck. There are things with Cascade that have been printed since then. Or things with Devour. Or Ninjas. Or, honestly, Totem Armor / enchantments. Hey, these can show you some pretty good cards for those type of formats. There are a lot of new ones now, but looking at these card sets, I'll give you an idea of where to start for these type of decks. You probably build a really cool, really crazy Cascade deck nowadays. Might be something to look into. Even, honestly, also these are kind of a step away from a Commander deck, since each of them has a legendary that matches the cards, kind of. I guess except for Maelstrom Wanderer. That one you'd have to find a different one for the Rainbow deck, but all the other ones work perfectly. And that'll be it for today. Make sure to check out the rest of my stuff. Checking me out live on Twitch. Other than kind of gaming, hangout, and stuff like that, I record all my tabletop stuff. That includes live plays like Fall of Amazon Wednesdays at 8, my current one, and discussing tabletop Saturdays at 6, my kind of talk show podcasting kind of thing. All my tabletop content is what goes up on my current YouTube channel, so if you want to check that out, make sure to go over there, subscribe. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments. If you played Planechase, I own this one. This is the one I definitely got into and where I kind of got developed in the Planechase format. Personally. So, let me know over there. Make sure to check out my social medias. And of course, until the next time, I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.